Now, I was just made aware of some somewhat shocking and alarming news from one of the banks that I bank with. And I kind of got to say that I did see this one coming. But where we go from here is, it's just not looking too good. And I did get an opportunity to actually speak to a friend of mine and discuss what's happening. Now, this person is in the banking industry. They're in the financial sector, and rather large bank that sees a lot of what's going on in underwriting and sees what's going on with loans, borrowing money, lending money, funding, personal and business, as well as account balances, daily balances, changes that ultimately affect the bank themselves as well, because the bank and their fractional reserve system is all based on the amount of total deposits that they have on hand at any given time. Now, we are technically currently in the process of packing up and getting out of here. Finally, it's a nice place. Don't get me wrong. I really like it here. West Glacier or Kalispell or whatever it is, it's nice. I like it. But I think we've outstayed our welcome. We did not initially plan on being here as long as we have been. And I want to continue on my trip, our trip, and get to the next stop, experience some new things. I don't mind necessarily paying for these hotels and these costs and fees associated with them, but I'd rather them be the ones that I want. And I want to go check out some other locations. I want my kid to be able to experience some other locations. And she's actually sent me a message while I'm recording this video of a link to where she can go horseback riding when we reach our next destination. So looking forward to that. We were able to get new tires, 4 new tires, mounted, balanced, ready to go. At the same time, we were able to get a car wash. Now, we went and got one of the cheapest car washes, Blue Buffalo or Blue Cow or something. What do you guys think? I mean, the car is definitely not as dirty as it was, but it's, I don't know. I don't know if I would really say it's a great wash. I'm technically a full parking space away, so that's, what's that? 3, 6, 9, that's about 12, 14 feet away. We're in the shade, so that's definitely helping. You guys know overcast makes things look way better than they really do. But 12 feet away, 15 feet away, maybe it's a good wash. Anything closer and it's like, you probably should have ran it through another cycle or 2 maybe. However, when we do get back home, I'm going to get this thing fully detailed, professionally cleaned, and back to its pre-road trip condition. Wait until we get done with this, because we still have quite a long distance to go, and I'm pretty sure the places that we're going to go, we're going to be driving through some epic weather, bugs. I didn't know this until yesterday. Discount Tire changes windshield wipers. So we got new windshield wipers. Not that mine were bad or like failing, but I felt as though they would probably give out on the next rain. We would start getting those streaks and they wouldn't really be effective. It's just my luck. So I was like, you know what? While y'all are at it, they offered it. I said, cool, go for it. They were $40 installed. I'm not gonna get into semantics. Normally I just go to Advanced Auto Parts and pick up a pair of Rain-X blades and put them on myself, no big deal. But you know, they were nice, really nice people. And they offered it, so I obliged, I agreed. I opted in for the add-on, the extra. But what's really of more importance, in my opinion, is what's happening. Okay, so a friend of mine, for which I cannot divulge any identifying information because this is relatively private information. And I just want to share with you guys so you are aware of what's happening, what's going on, and hopefully you're able to get better prepared for just that. Number one, account balances are lower across the board than ever before. Savings account balances, checking account balances are lower. Number two, more people are applying for loans than ever before at higher interest rates than ever before. And being in the underwriting department, he's also seeing more or less qualified applicants that may or may not get approved. If approved, the rates are really high. The borrowing cost, the interest rates are really high to repay. If denied, it's because they didn't qualify. Their debt to income ratio was already too high. Their income is too low. Their credit score has taken hits. And ultimately, they were not creditworthy based on the underwriting guidelines, which are getting stricter, and were ultimately denied. Have been denied. Many more will be denied. And in addition, the account balances are being reduced, quite possibly because of people spending so much money, or being forced to spend so much money, or having to spend so much money in order to keep up with this insanely ridiculous high cost of living crisis situation that we have. Potentially a huge, huge burden forced onto us, upon us, due to record high inflation. Now, granted, inflation didn't just happen overnight to be ridiculously high. There were some key factors, contributing factors, to make that a realistic possibility. That's all water under the bridge. We are where we are today. We need to prepare for where we're going to be tomorrow. And that's what's most important, because the banks are seeing a huge change in the way that the customers are managing their funds, the way that the customers are managing their accounts. And what they're seeing is that customers are pulling money out of their checking accounts, or pulling money out of their savings accounts. For what reason? The reason being not necessarily exactly what you might think, okay? The reason being is that they have identified far better, greater opportunities and places in which they can put their money, rest their money, vehicles that will ultimately bring back higher yields, higher ROI, higher returns on investment, which is of utmost importance. Inflation is consistently, steadily chipping away at your savings, your paychecks, your discretionary income, your budgets, your vacation budget, your retirement, your investment portfolio, your ability to continuously, as I've told you guys before, invest. Time in the market, far more important to me than timing the market. But in order to have the time in the market, I need to be able to have the funds available to continuously invest on a regular basis and take advantage of opportunities like dollar cost averaging. My personal preference, to each their own. However, this is potentially going to put the squeeze on the banks, particularly the smaller banks, regional banks, maybe not so much the credit unions, but it's potentially going to put the squeeze on the banks. Why? Because now the banks are going to have to get more creative. They're going to have to get more aggressive. They're going to have to provide an incentive for the customers to want to continue operating with said bank. Because if they can't get the most for their money, then they're going to ultimately end up taking their money and putting it somewhere else. And that's where we come into problem number 2. And that is having the money to invest, having the money to decide where you want to put it, where you want to take it, where you want to move it. Now, granted, you could be looking at mutual funds, money market, CD, certificate of deposit, stocks, real estate, crypto, business, all great options. If you want to talk more about these, know more about these, understand more about these, see exactly what we're doing, where we're putting our money, and what we're getting in return, then again, come check us out. Links in the description. But this just shows me, look at this jet. See if I can pick that up. You see all that fuel coming out the back? I don't know if you're able to see all that fuel coming out the back. Biden have a damn heart attack if you saw that. Or Schwab, or Soros, or Gates, whoever. UN. They're all working to get this climate situation, this green initiative, zero emissions under control. They don't realize that people don't have the money. People don't have the money. They don't have the money to survive as it is right now. The way the economy is, the way budgets are, the way this affordability crisis, this insane high cost of living crisis has affected people. You think they're gonna have money to toss their cars, get bent over on trade-ins and resale values, and then go buy an electric car that costs 30 to 40% more? Maybe more? Odds are, that's a hard no. But I digress. The simple fact of the matter is that my buddy, he says, Kevin, we are headed into a recession, if not already in one. And this recession that he's talking about is a almost global recession. Definitely US recession, but global, because he's already identified in certain pockets, in certain markets, in certain regions, demographics, that they've already been in a recession. So when we say entering in, this is kind of a generalized, broad-based reference to the world, okay? So far, we've seen isolated incidents and pockets of recession, specifically some of these small towns. And not so much the small towns that Jason Aldean's singing about, but just in general, smaller towns that don't have a ton of resources, that are pretty much centered around these smaller banks, okay? That these smaller banks are about to get the squeeze, they're about to feel the pressure. But he's telling me, he says, Kevin, inflation isn't necessarily the biggest problem. It is a problem, but it's not the biggest problem. And ultimately, the biggest problem is the lack of income, the lack of increased income, the lack of the ability to outpace inflation, because inflation does, and always will exist. The key is to outpace it. Now, you guys may recall, typically in the past, usually you work for a company, organization, corporation, whatever, big business, whatever, doesn't matter. And they would give you an annual review, depending on what level employee you were, or management level, or status, or whatever, doesn't matter. They would give you an annual review. And this review would sit you down, probably begin by hyping up your strengths, talking up your strong suit, your accomplishments, and then easing into some of your weaknesses and where you may have fallen short. And then closing up with, we value you, and we want to see you improve. We want to see you grow with the company, yada, 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 all that all that fluffing up talk, you know, fluffing up. You guys know what I'm talking about. You girls, your gals may know what I'm talking about too. So at the end of it, when it's all said and done, what do? We're going to give you a 2% raise, maybe a 1.5%, maybe a 1% raise. What does that do? Absolutely nothing. It psychologically is supposed to make you feel good that you got a raise. But at the end of the day, all it was doing was keeping up with inflation. But here's the problem. When you continuously get these 2% salary increases, yet inflation sees a 20 to 30%, 50% in some instances, 100 to 200, maybe 1,000% increase in some instances when it comes to food, energy, and fuel, which doesn't get factored into the CPI inflation numbers. The 2% raise no longer allows you to keep up with inflation. Look at that mountain over there. That guy's small in comparison to West Glacier. That mountain's small in comparison to West Glacier. But the 2% no longer allows you to keep up with inflation. So inflation's not the problem. Inflation is the catalyst. Your income, or at least your ability to increase your income to outpace inflation, to have available to invest, to receive greater returns above and beyond inflation, that's the problem. That's the problem. How do you solve that problem? That's a good question. And there's really no one set answer to it. It's all going to be dependent and somewhat specific to you, your current situation, your goals, your objectives, your capabilities, your risk tolerance, your aggressiveness, your availability of time, your skill set, your education, your network, your friends, your circle. So I'm not even going to try to attempt to provide you guys with an answer to a question that is so broad and so specific and unique to each and every single person in this video. That would ultimately be pointless, worthless. But what is important is understanding the true problem. Understanding what is happening, which I told you guys was bound to happen. These companies, these businesses, these corporations are slowly recapturing control. They want to bring you back into the office. They want to lock you back into your cage. They want to reduce your income. They want to, increase your workload. They want to get you back under their thumb so that you can be trapped, locked, a slave to them, graciously thanking them for keeping you held down and held back, while the world around you moves forward. Prices continue to go up. Cost of living continues to increase. Expenses continue to get higher. Budgets continue to get demolished. As you continuously consume, read, hear, watch, listen to news stories and headlines, conflicting news about how good or how bad the economy is, or how great or how poorly people are doing, Americans are doing, the potential housing market crash or real estate market crash or commercial property crash, banking industry crash, crypto market crash, stock market crash. I could go on and on for days. All of this is designed with one particular motive, and that is, or maybe a general idea, the goal is to hold you back. The goal is to keep you down. Another elite taking off in his private jet, off to Switzerland, off to Italy, Milan, Monaco, Paris, who knows? Keep you down, keep you blinded, keep keep you misguided, keep you uninformed, miseducated on what the truth really is. And that is, they want to take your money. They want to see you broke. They want to see you poor. They want to see you in debt. They want to see you struggle. They want to see you panic. They want to see you fear. They want to see you high levels of stress and anxiety. They want to see potential suicide rates on the increase, on the incline. They want to see people literally managing this population situation that Kamala Harris is talking about, or she let slip up, she spilled the beans on. They want to see that play out. There's a potential likelihood of collapse and destruction that, ironically, I cannot believe they allowed people to know about. And if you want to know more about it, go watch the first installment of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Part 1. It'll really, really open your eyes. It'll really wake you up if you haven't woken up already. But in the meantime, we still have to try to find a way to survive this. We still have to find a way to weather the storm, keep our heads above water, stay out in front of it. And based on what I'm seeing, based on what I'm hearing, based on the conversations I'm having with experts and analysts and those in the financial markets and banking and investing and businesses, business owners, those providing funding, lending, hard money loans, everybody in the markets, they're all saying the same thing. And they're saying that the problem is that people are not making enough money. And they're not making enough money because they're not going out there and getting it.